Glad to see you again. Let's continue the fruitful talk by Professor Dr. Suresh Mishra on the topic policy formulation and implementation during post-COVID era. Over to you, sir.
Now, the question is to meet the policy challenges, as I have said earlier. It includes, I said, health and other things. Since many things were known, I did not really think it, but I gave it how we were integrated into the global economy and we suffered. But so, what did the governments do? The initiatives that the governments did. Uh, Hand sanitizers, protective masks to be essential commodities. So that was a big policy change that took place under the Essential Commodities Act, where there were only certain items which were essential, declared as essential commodities. But because of the COVID, the major shift in the policy itself, that even something like a hand sanitizer and protective mask became an essential commodity where nobody could hoard it, nobody could overprice it, nobody could store in bulk. The movement is restricted under the EC Act. So therefore, something which is in a normal situation, which nobody even bothers, became an essential commodity under the Act. So that was a major shift under the Essential Commodities Act that took place. It enhances the availability of both these commodities to the general public at reasonable price or under the maximum retail price. Collision by competitors as a reaction to shortage at the state level would squarely fall within the ambit of the CCI's domain. Enterprises that enjoy significant market power have an additional responsibility to act with caution in times of crisis, especially if they are engaged in supply of essential. So the essential commodities, two basic things were declared as essential commodities, and it had a resultant cascading effect on that. The governments also took a knee-jerk modification by companies in a dominant position, particularly engaged in excessive pricing. They said that they will attract penalties. Companies selling. Well, it restricted the export of diagnostic like kits and with immediate effect. That's a policy change in the export that took place, where the diagnostic kits, which were normal situation, they were being exported through banned. Ensured that the companies cannot increase the price of medical devices beyond what is permitted under any circumstances. So they use the Disaster Management Act to ensure that the companies cannot go on increasing price for medical devices, and they put a cap on many of the things. The government has undertaken vital step by fixing the price of sanitizers and surgical masks. So everything was fixed by the government. That to what is also planning on how to grow in the API sector in future. Now, this is the scenario where government was looking. Now, to meet the challenges, there was a policy response to COVID. There was a paradigm shift in policy formulation and implementation also. So there was a crisis. The crisis was too big for governments to. The policies that were there, they were not able to meet the situation. So a lot of new thought process had to be given. So therefore, there is a paradigm shift in the formulation of policy and its implementation, whereby the government announced the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. So as a major boost to the meet the challenges of the COVID-19. Now, if you look at the impact on India, as I said, that there were a lot of death has taken place, slowdown in manufacturing and services, loss of jobs, workers are back to their home, lack of orders have eventually led to massive trade contraction, disruption in air travel, fall in travel and tourism, rise in bankruptcy and NPAs because a lot of companies, uh, they corporates, they took loans from the banks, but then they were not able to meet their requirement. So therefore, the problem was that there was a all-round complications. along with the rise in death and destabilization, complicated diseases, and continuation cannot be ruled out. As a result, these shocks can spill over to other sectors and economies where trade and production links. So that's the impact outbreak had brought globalized world to a standstill. For India's economy has taken a massive financial hit imposed to prevent the spread. This was aggravated by the vulnerable India has seen both in economic the borders. During the pandemic, the Chinese border really saw a lot of expenditure coming. The China moved its forces on the border, and therefore India had to also spend a lot of money and amass its army. And 50,000 soldiers were put up in the cold one, and the country had to ensure that there is enough supply to meet the requirements of the 50,000 soldiers who were never posted on the Chinese border. So it was too cold. They had to have new clothing, new tents, everything we had. So because of the COVID break, already the economy was in shambles, and then all of a sudden they had to spend so much of money on defense to meet the Chinese. So therefore, the COVID-19 has exposed the serious strategic implications of India's import dependence, especially on China. So therefore, all since all countries were shut, they were not exporting anything, nor they're importing anything. And India, our trade relations with China were to such extent that many things we depended on China, but because of the COVID break and movement of the troops on the border, India realized that depending on China is something which is a big strategic mistake. Therefore, there needs to be a new policy, new thinking of how do you meet this situation. Therefore, if you remember, the Prime Minister announced the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan or Self-Reliant India Mission, which is a campaign launched by Government of India. This was essentially as a counter to meet the crisis of COVID-19, where because of globalization and putting up restrictions on trade, lockdown, closing of borders. Then the question was, how does the India meet the requirements? So therefore, the Prime Minister came up with the slogan of self-reliant India, that we should produce everything that we need. It includes an economic stimulus package and a number of reform proposals. So now, the reforms, both in terms of governance and in structural reforms, came up under the self-reliant or Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. The definition of self-reliance has changed in a globalized world, and it is different from being self-centered. Self-reliance will make globalization human-centric. They should be seen in the context of human centric globalization versus economic centric globalization. So, therefore, Atmanirbhar initiative is essentially to promote capacity building and competitiveness on a global and a local scale. So, going back to the Gandhian model of development essentially was what we were talking about, local, and then ensuring that it to be produced at a global scale. Now, there is always a thinking that self-reliance, does it mean that we will not have anything to do with the other countries? Will we not buy products from the other countries? But then there was a clarification that self-reliance does not mean cutting India off from the world. India believes in the welfare of the world, and India's progress is linked to the world. The world trusts that India has a lot to contribute to the development of the entire humanity. Therefore, the reforms would cover agriculture, medium, small scale industries, housing sector, social sector, government reform, civil aviation. So these were the major policy shifts that have taken place. That India would not depend too much on its basics on other countries, but to try to ensure that they bring it reforms within internal reforms to ensure that we become a self-sufficient country. I think that's the paradigm shift in the policy that we have been talking about. So it's believed that bold reforms across sectors will drive the country's push towards self-reliance. So therefore, the call self-reliance can be compared with the Swadeshi movement. If you look at Gandhiji that he talked about, it is a retailable response to the evolving political and economic currents in a globalized world. Swadeshi was the rejection of the colonial exploitation of India and criticism of the Western model of capitalism-based economic growth, while Atmanirbhar Bharat is an attempt to find India's legitimate place in a rapidly changing world. So, how do you look at the Swadeshi movement? So, Atmanirbhar Bharat, like the Swadeshi movement, is a program that is against the unrestricted import of Western thinking and economic model, but is not adverse to technology. So, technology transfer is a major component of the Atmanirbhar Bharat that it stands for modernization, but without unbridged westernization. The call for vocal for local needs to be seen as a response to the anticipated changes geopolitical order in the post-COVID world. So, uh, in every district of the country, you find that there is a local product that can be. So, vocal for local was the slogan that was given to ensure that lot of production takes place of products that are being produced within the country. So the COVID crisis has shown the fallings of multilateral and regional institutions and also the ineffectiveness of trade barriers and standalone economic models. So Indian entrepreneurship must be freed from the shackles of adopting suitable governance models and reforming laws. The new Swadeshi must transform local industries to connect the ever-changing global trade structure and lead to localization that serves local and global markets. So the focus was that our local industries, local enterprises, local products, they should have such a standard that they reach the global standards and we become a self-reliant country. So vocal for local strengthens the policy of Make in India. If you remember that before the pandemic, Make in India was a slogan that was given that we should uh, make products in India rather than made in India. There's a difference between made in India and make in India. Made in India was that, yes, it was made here, but it was sent abroad for the other markets. Make in India is that, yes, come here, set up the enterprise, make here, and sell it here and sell it abroad also. So, what exactly it does? It empowers local brands, startups, and medium, small, mini scale industries. It helps new brands come to light and aid and assist them. Self reliance and Make in India will prepare the country for tough competition in the global supply chain. It will not only increase efficiency in various sectors but also ensure quality. So, what is the problem with our products? The problem with our product is essentially of quality. We are not able to ensure quality for the global market. Now, in Make in India, the quality and tough competitiveness are two important things that are there. Any product that is made in India has to meet uh, the the minimum requirements of a good quality product that is the global appeal. So therefore, it has to ensure that we are produce products that are what so the focal point of the concept is to make the nation self-reliant by boosting Make in India, more focus on local manufacturers and service providers, which will strengthen the economy and improve the standard of living. Most importantly, improve the trade deficit and the exchequer balance of the country because you have more of manufacturing. The manufacturing takes place, you have export that and then foreign income that is there. So, some early signs of this development were seen during the COVID crisis, where India's position in the pharmacy of the developing world was cemented. If you remember that we produce so much of PP kits and medicines that even chloroquine we gave to a lot of countries free. So we became a pharmacy of the developing world because we have a strong pharmaceutical base in the country that we have. That some of the Indian firms they have a very big global presence. So if we can have this kind of presence in other sectors also, that is going to really make the so before the countries could come up with a vaccine, we came up with a vaccine. Our pharma world companies are so strong. They have a global presence that we our scientists are so good that we did come up with our own local uh, vaccine that is now being recognized world over. And we also helped many countries with this vaccine. So the importance of self-reliance was also seen in the self-sufficiency of food, especially cereals, the lack of which have been exacerbated the current crisis. Now, the five pillars of self-reliant India, which they have talked about in Atmanirbhar Bharat, they say that the growth and to build a self-reliant India, Atmanirbhar Bharat rests on five important pillars. One is the economy, which essentially looks to a quantum leap so as to make and convert the currency adversary into an advantage. The second is infrastructure that can be image of modern India. So a new infrastructure wave that has come. The infrastructure that you build is of high class infrastructure that allows it to. Then the systems driven by 21st century technology, and that is not based on old rules. Recently, you must have read that along with the three agriculture acts, another 100 legislations have been removed. So, lot of cleaning of legislative cleaning, that's the old rules and regulations which have become a impediment, which are hammering the growth of the country, that are being the fifth, fourth, sixth is to build a very vibrant democracy that is a source of energy to make India self-reliant. And then the question last is demand, where the strength of our demand and supply chain is utilized intelligently. So these are the five pillars. Essentially, if you look at Atmanirbhar Bharat, this is the roadmap ahead, which talks of economy, infrastructure, systems, demography, and demand. Atmanirbhar Bharat came with packages of 20 lakh crores. It focused on land, labor, liquidity, and laws, and catered to labor, middle class, cottage industries, medium, small, and micro enterprises, and industries, among others. And it brought about bold reforms. Uh, that is essentially in the supply chain reforms for agriculture, rationalized tax system, simple and clear laws, capable human resources. So you have the new education policy coming, strong financial system. The RBI has come up with the new norms, and so if you look at the five pillars, there are also five phases related to Atmanirbhar Bharat. Phase one essentially deals with business, including medium, small, micro enterprises. Phase 2 deals with poor, including farmer and migrant workers. Phase 3 deals with agriculture. Phase 4 is with new growth of horizon. And the most important is Phase 5 are the governmental reforms in making ease of business. How government functions, how it delivers better services is what the. So if you look at the post COVID 19 policy implications or policy formulation and implementation, the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, that's the one which is guiding the policy that are being trained. So essentially, as you know, we are trying to achieve GDP of 5 trillion by 2025. We need to spend a lot on the infrastructure. So Atmanirbhar Bharat promises to provide benefits to everyone from every sector. It aims to be self-reliant, to face the competition with the global supply chain. The package will support the poor, laborers, and migrant workers from both organized as well as organized. So, therefore, Atmanirbhar Bharat has something for everybody. So, that's the spirit of which the Atma. So, if you look at the various reforms that are being initiated under this, as I said earlier, government reforms, they are major, whether it is your education sector, whether you IT, whether you have the name any sector, delivery of services, there are reforms that are being brought by the government to improve the governmental measures for business. You have lot of rules and regulations, new policies, programs which will help business to do better and ease up business. Doing business is one of the major slogans of this government, that they would ensure that all the rules and regulations and procedures are simple and does not. Agriculture and allied sectors, you have seen that the agriculture, three agriculture acts were passed, and they had to be withdrawn only because certain farmers, they protested, and they, but that is the need of the hour. You need to have an agriculture sector reforms that will ensure that the farmers get due returns. Then you have policies for the migrant workers, those workers who, whether it is internal migration or external migration, these reforms are also being taken place. Civil aviation and defense, energy, housing, social sector. So there's a lot of reforms that are coming in. So essentially, as I said earlier, Atmanirbhar Bharat is the guiding policy for the new reforms that is coming. Now look at some of the policy initiatives that government has taken in the post Atmanirbhar Bharat. They have revised the definition of medium, small, and micro enterprises. They have done it as a free food grain supply to migrants, technology system to be used enabling migrants access PDS from anywhere. That is essentially one nation, one card. Schemes for affordable rental housing complexes for migrant workers and urban poor. The government has said that they will build houses for migrant workers and urban poor. Rupees 2 lakh crore credit boost to 2.5 crore farmers under Kisan Credit Card Scheme. 1 crore agri infrastructure fund. 20,000 crore for fishermen. So, the important policy initiatives that have been taken because of Atmanirbhar Bharat are in various sectors, and a lot of investment is being now done. A National Animal Disease Control Program has been initiated, amendment to the Essential Act, agriculture marketing reforms, health reforms and initiatives, decriminalization of Company Act, ease of doing business for corporates, public sector enterprises, policy for a new self, support to state governments, new education sector. Government is expanding e-learning in higher education. So these are some of the important initiatives that have been taken at the national level to ensure that we become self-reliant in every sector that was there. Labor sector reforms is one of the most major reforms that the government has taken. So there was a disparity in minimum wages from one state to another. So now they have come up, to avoid this, national floor wage has been introduced. Appointment letter to be provided to all workers to promote formalization. There are a lot of workers working in this country who do not have their appointment letters. They can be sacked at will. They have no social security. So this is what the labor sector reform that the government has initiated post COVID is doing. Definition of interstate migrant worker to include migrant workers employed directly by the employer. ESIC coverage to all districts. Introduction of reskilling funds for retrenched workers. So if workers are removed retrenched because of a closure of a company or a factory, there will be a fund reskilling, provision for social security fund for unorganized workers, and provision of gratuity and completion of 1 year services against 5 years. So earlier, if somebody works for uh, 2 years, 3 years, he was not entitled for gratuity, but now the government has said that anybody working for 1 year is going to get gratuity. So these are some of the important labor sector reforms that have been taken over. Similarly, we have the agriculture marketing reforms to provide choice to farmers. Are bound the farmers can sell their produce at various other mandis also. They can a law formulated to provide choice to farmers to sell produce at an attractive price. Barrier-free interstate trade. Legal framework will be created towards contract farming, enable farmers to engage with processors, aggregators, risk mitigation for farmers, assured returns, and quality standards. So these are some of the major policy initiatives in this sector also. Similarly, you have in the coal sector, coal has been an important source of energy in the country, especially for your electricity and other sector. This is needed. So they have introduction of commercial mining in the coal sector to revenue sharing, lower impact of the environment. That's a coal bed methane extraction rights to be auctioned. So there's more of auctioning rather than government having. So government is reforming coal sector by making space more for the private sector than the government sector. Similarly, in the defense production, self-reliance in the defense is one of the major initiatives where they banned the import of several weapons and a separate budget provision for domestic capitalization is there. Corporatization of the Ordnance Factory Board that has already taken place. All the ordnance factories now they have become corporates, a corporate entity which higher autonomy, accountability, and flexibility. There's an increase in the FDI limit in the defense manufacturing under automation from 49% to 79%. Similarly, you have in the aircraft and airspace sector also, you have the building of the airports with the international uh, public-private participation, tax regime for aircraft maintenance, repair, all being done in the country. Earlier, we would get all these done by outside agencies, but today, the government under the Atmanirbhar Bharat, it's created policies that affect these sectors. Similarly, you have technology driven in the education sector also. PM eVidya, that's a program for multi-mode access, and the special e-content will be there. The top 100 universities will be permitted to automatically start online courses by 30th November 2020. So I'm sure this has already taken off. Then you have Manodarpan is there, National Foundation Literacy and Numeracy Mission. These are the initiatives that are taken in the education sector under the Atmanirbhar Bharat. Now, ease of doing business is something the minimum threshold to initiate insolvency proceeding has raised to rupees 1 crore. Suspension of free initiative is there, and decriminalization of violations of the company lies there because earlier people would be sent to jail. Under decriminalization, now you pay only penalty and there is no jail term. Uh, and now, if you look at the impact of Atmanirbhar Bharat and the stimulus package since the announcement has helped business firms increase immediate financing, it has also kick-started a manufacturing movement in India. COVID-19 impact on the Indian economy exposed its deficiencies, especially in the manufacturing sector. So this sector for a long time had higher input cost competition from cheap imports along with the low productivity. Niti Aayog insists that the self-reliance initiative improves India's domestic manufacturing. So that's what the Niti Aayog the study has shown that the Atmanirbhar Bharat or self-reliance initiatives will have a lot of impact on India's domestic manufacturing. It will be used to make India an important part of a diverse global supply chain, and the government is determined to create global manufacturing. So therefore, by applying future technologies like artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, blockchain technology, robotics would help India sustain future proof of manufacturing value chain. Now, if you look at the recent policies, which have already four reforms brought as part of Atmanirbhar package to mitigate the effect of COVID-19, were linked to improving the ease of living to the public, particularly the poor. So you have the one nation, one ration card, where any migrant laborer, whether once he leaves his village, he can go to any shop where he has gone to work and get his ration there. So that's a big initiative. Second is improving ease of doing business, renewal, another thing, licensing that has been made easy. It's automatic, online. Like in Delhi, for your driving license, there is no RTO office now. You have to do all online. Then you can book your the if you have learned the driving, you can book your test. You can get, so there is no office of RTO where you go and fill your form. So these are some of the initiatives that are helping people. Notifying floor areas of property tax, water and sewer charges, reforms to enable better quality of services to the poor, middle class, as well as support. And direct benefit transfer is essentially relating to reforms for reduction in technical and commercial losses and also reducing the gap between revenue and costs. So these are some of the initial responses, the policy responses, initiatives that have been taken, which affect a large section of the Indian population. So this is the what essentially is what I have been talking about, is that India is today transforming from a situation where it opened its doors to liberalization and globalization to one where it has to rearm itself to become a competitive manufacturing hub, a self reliant country that can face war and pandemics, and a comfortable investment destination where the world can reallocate to capitalize on its huge and talented manpower and geographic advantage. So there is a shift in policy making towards a more self-reliant India than from what we talked of liberalization and globalization. So I think this is the paradigm shift in policy, both policy formulation and implementation, that we started off with liberalization and globalization in the 90s, but by the time we came to 21, in the backdrop of the COVID 19, India is shrinking itself and talking about more self reliant, make in India, technology transfer, and ensure that we become a manufacturing hub. I think that's the message that this Atmanirbhar Bharat has given to all of us. So, thank you, colleagues. I stop here, and that's the end of my presentation.